I welcome you again to Pillar TV. This is a station that really value about your health. And today we're going to be talking about the eradication of lifestyle diseases. We're going to talk about a subject called lifestyle diseases control and prevention. Lifestyle diseases have become a menace to general public, and we feel in Pillar it is high time that we talk about this subject, and it's going to be for your health, for your benefit. Today I'm not alone. I'm going to be joined by my dear sister here, Mrs. Nyaga Margaret, who is a professional psychologist, a social worker, and a nutritionist. And today she's going to bring us the subject in a very different perspective, because she's going to address it from the perspective of God. That is how God values health. And this is going to be a very thrilling subject, because definitely when we understand what God feels about health, and then how he gives us the tips on how we can address that subject of health, I believe is going to be very thrilling and is going to be of much help to you. So I welcome you to the program today. So how are you this morning?
I'm very fine, Pastor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful to God.
Yes.
Even for this opportunity.
Yes.
To speak on his behalf.
Yes.
On matters pertaining to our health. Yes.
Thank you so much. I welcome you to Pillar TV. We've seen you so many times, and it's high time that I'm very happy that I got you. I looked for you around, and I'm very fortunate that I got you. I've heard you talk about this subject in some other different places. I would like you to tell us exactly on this subject of lifestyle diseases and on how God values health. What do you really mean by tackling this subject from that perspective?
Okay. Pastor, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I want to begin by saying this. Every machine that has been manufactured by any human being is always accompanied by a manual.
Yeah.
These cameras we see here, they have their manuals.
Yes.
Your phone has a manual.
Definitely.
This body is a machine.
Yes.
The manufacturer of this body is God, the creator. So when he manufactured this machine, he had to accompany it with a manual. And God's manual for this machine is this book.
It's the Word of God.
The Word of God.
Yes.
The Bible. I call it my manufacturer's manual.
Yes.
So everything, just the way if your phone hangs, you look for the manual, you check which button to press,
Yes.
and then the phone comes back to life.
Yes.
The same case. When this body is sick, we have a manual here. Once we get into this manual, there are buttons, 8 of them, that we need to press, and our health is back. Yes.
Oh, that's so good. That's so important. Now, as pertaining the lifestyle diseases, now when I talk about lifestyle diseases, you know, so many diseases have really come up. We're talking about diabetes every time. We're talking about hypertension. We're talking about arthritis. We're talking about cancers. We're talking about so many diseases that are lifestyle related. Now, as pertains to what God thinks, what manual God has given us and the direction he has given us, what can you really tell us as some of the tips God has given through his manual that can be able to help us address this issue?
Okay. Now, going to my manufacturer's manual, I'll go to Exodus 15 in verse 26. I will read.
Definitely.
Exodus 15, 26.
15:26.
Yes. God says, and he said, if you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God, and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. God says clearly, if we hearken to his voice, obey his commandments, and we will see which commandments are these, not necessarily the 10 commandments. He says he will not allow any of the Egyptian diseases to come close to us. Now, how do we get to know which are these Egyptian diseases? When you go to the researchers, or those people who are called paleontologists,
Yes.
they are those people who deal with the study of fossils. They will tell us the Egyptian diseases were, 1, cancers of all types were in Egypt, cardiovascular diseases, heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure was in Egypt.
Yeah.
Degenerative joint diseases, that one is arthritis, was
Yeah.
an Egyptian disease. Liver cirrhosis which is killing so many people through alcohol and smoking, was an Egyptian disease. Tooth decay, if you have problem with your teeth, that was an Egyptian disease. Malaria is an Egyptian disease. Tuberculosis, Egyptian disease. Hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid, many people have not known what is hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid is a disease that is affecting the rectum. The veins swell. And as you empty, you have a lot of bleeding. And also diabetes. All those diseases were Egyptian diseases. And this is what God is saying. If we listen to him, he will not allow these diseases to come close to us. And so, maybe the next question you'd ask me is, what had caused these diseases?
Definitely, yes.
In Egypt? Yes. Let's go to Exodus 16.
Exodus 16?
Yes.
So that we can know what caused these diseases in Egypt.
So that we see whether it's happening to us today. In Exodus 16 and verse 3, it says, "And the children of Israel said to them, Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to the full." When they sat loud pots of meat, and when they ate bread to the full. So, the lifestyle in Egypt had caused these diseases. What do we call them today? We call them lifestyle diseases, caused by our lifestyle. And so, what did God do to eliminate this? Verse 4 is the solution.
Of Exodus. Still.
Exodus 16, verse 4 is the solution. The solution is, verse 4 says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them whether they walk in my law or not." He said he's going to rain bread from heaven,
yeah,
to test them whether they're going to walk according to his law or not. Even today, God is speaking to us today. He is testing us to see whether we are going to walk according to his law.
Yes.
So what is this bread that he rained from heaven? So that we may understand exactly what God did. Psalms 78.
Psalm 78.
Yeah, Psalms 78.
It's very exciting.
And verse 23. What did God bring down from heaven? Psalms 78 and verse 23 and 24, he says, "Yet he commanded the clouds above and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna on them to eat and gave them of the bread of heaven."
Yeah.
He gave them of the bread of heaven. Other version says the corn of heaven. Other says grain of heaven. So what God did was he just changed their diet, changed their lifestyle. So with the lifestyle diseases, once we change the diet, everything goes back as it was expected to be. Yeah, so that's the short introduction about lifestyle diseases.
That's so thrilling, and that is so important. And now, when we talk about meat and when we talk about bread, we've taken bread all our lives.
Yes.
We've taken meat all our lives. Maybe when God talks about meat that they took in Egypt, or the bread that they took in Egypt, is it the fact that that bread was not prepared in the right way, or that meat was not prepared in the right way, that brought the consequence of these sicknesses, or what? On how, because as you say, are we supposed to stop eating bread, and are we supposed to stop eating meat altogether, or is the preparation of the meat that we're going to eat that is going to be the problem?
Okay. Now when we come to meat, God was very specific.
Yes.
Actually, in this menu, God has given us 5 diets.
Yes.
I may not go through all the 5 diets today, but I will tackle specifically what you have asked me.
Yes.
Meat.
Yes.
Meat was the 3rd diet
Yes.
that God gave to his people. And that one we find it in the book of Genesis. The book of Genesis chapter 9. Genesis chapter 9, the third diet. And this came as a result of the flood. After sin increased, God said the spirit cannot struggle with man anymore.
Yes.
And he decided he was going to wipe the entire world with the flood. But he found one faithful man whose name was Noah. He told Noah to build an ark. Noah constructed that ark, preached it to the people for 120 years. And then God gave them an opportunity to go into the ark.
Yes.
After they refused,
Yes.
God gave Noah some instruction in Genesis chapter 7. Verse 2, he said, "You shall take with you 7, each of every clean animal, a male and his female. 2 of each animals that are unclean, a male and his female." So Noah was told, get into the ark with 7 unclean animals, and that in every unclean animals, 2, 2, 2. Clean animals, 7, 7, 7. And if you want to know some of the unclean animals, you go back to Leviticus 11, you tell you a camel, a rabbit, a pig, those were counted as unclean animals. Rabbits, camels, and pigs. Then clean animals. So Noah, after people refused to get into the ark, he went with 7 clean animals, 2 unclean animals. So after the flood in Genesis 9 now, this is where God is giving instructions of meat eating. From verse 1 to 4, but I'll read verse 3. "Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs." The green herbs was the second diet. So the third diet is animal, meat. But verse 4, God gives the condition for eating meat. He says, "But you shall not eat fresh with its life, that is its blood."
Yeah.
So God instructed, if we have to eat meat, it should not have blood in it.
Yes.
Because life is in the blood. Okay? And so, when he gave this diet because there was nothing, totally nothing in the world for man to eat. There was no grain, there was no herbs, there was nothing totally. There was only this meat.
Yeah.
And so this meat, God gave it for a specific period of time. It was not going to be meant entirely.
Okay, thank you. Let me cut you short.
Yes.
Briefly, now, we are going to come back.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to see how exactly this meat, how this bread today, as prepared today, definitely deviates from the instruction that God gave us, and that has necessitated the problem that we are experiencing today. So don't go back. We'll be right away. Thank God bless you so much.
Pillar TV, shaping your destiny.
Are you looking for an office that is spacious, located in a certain environment, has ample parking with security? Then look no further. Oasis of Hope building, located next to SCK St. Paul's Church, is offering office space at an affordable price. For more information, call 020-212-4416. Oasis of Hope building, the best place to be.
By Faith Bookshop, dealers in Bibles, motivational books, revision books for primary and secondary, wall hangings, storybooks, exercise books, and stationery. We are located at Kerugoya along Kerugoya Kagumo Highway, opposite Cabanas Hotel, and Kutus along Mjini Road, next to Gopinath Hardware. By Faith Bookshop, knowledge is power.
Pillar TV, shaping your destiny.
Welcome back. We have just gone on a short break, and we are back now. We are still on our health check program with the Pillar, and today we have a visitor, Mrs. Nyaga Margaret, who is taking us through the subject of lifestyle diseases control and prevention, and she's tackling it from the perspective of God. So we've just talked about so many things, we've read about so many verses as she relates the present problems with the Bible, and she has read so many verses. And today, right now, we're going to move now from there a little bit. We're going to look at subject per subject, and then we're going to see how exactly our deviation from the instruction that God gave us is really contributing to major increment of these diseases. So, Mrs. Nyaga, welcome back.
Thank you.
Today, I would like us to discuss more about diabetes. Diabetes has become a major problem. It's a menace. At times, some times ago, somebody who had to be suffering from diabetes, it was a talk of the whole town because it was not common. But today it has become a major thing, including children and people who are young and old altogether. Nobody is spared by this menace. What do you think is the problem?
Okay. Now, when we talk about diabetes, we are talking about the body, lack of insulin in the body.
Yeah.
Okay? And the sugar levels in the body increasing.
Yes.
We actually have two types of diabetes.
Yeah.
The juvenile diabetes, that is insulin, which is controlled by insulin.
Yes.
Then we also have type 2 diabetes, which is mostly with adult people. Now, with diabetes, it's actually a lifestyle disease. What happens with the diabetes? For you to be diagnosed with diabetes, maybe your body is either not producing enough insulin,
Yeah.
and for that insulin to be produced, the pancreas must be involved.
Yes.
Okay?
That's the organ that
organ.
manufactures insulin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the pancreas, for the pancreas to produce insulin, there are beta cells in the pancreas that produce
The insulin
the
itself.
insulin. So when you take your small ugali, that ugali is converted into glucose.
Yeah.
Once the glucose gets into your blood,
Yeah.
a telephone call is made
Yes.
from your brain. And then the phone says, there's a lot of sugar in the blood. What do we do with it? Pancreas says, I'm going to send somebody to take care of that sugar. So the pancreas sends insulin.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the insulin, the main function of the insulin is to open the cells in your body.
Yeah.
None of your body cells can open up to consume anything without the insulin being there. Okay? So I normally tell people, look at insulin like a man with the two hands.
Yes.
One of the hand of the insulin is to knock on the cells, to open the doors. Then the other one is to push in the sugar into the cells.
So he's come with sugar on this side.
Yes.
And he's knocking on this side, so that when the cell opens,
When the cell
then the
opens,
glucose is taken in.
the glucose is taken in. Okay? So when a person eats his meal and does not do any exercise, you just eat and sleep, insulin will be released. It will knock all the cells in your body. none of the cell will be able to open up. All the cells be saying we are comfortable. We don't need anything. We are not hungry.
That is because you're sleeping, because you're not active.
You are not active. Okay? So the sugar levels continue increasing in the blood. Okay? So what happens? Another phone call is called Plan B. The body takes Plan B. Mr. Kidney, there's a lot of traffic jam here. Can you please help? So the kidney says, okay, you are my brother, you are my sister. That's not my job, but I will try to do something. So the kidney comes in now to try and remove part of the sugars in the body by doing what? Frequent urination. Frequent urination.
So as you urinate frequently, that sugar is getting out?
Yes, the kidney is now trying
because
to get
it was
rid.
in the body, but it was not put into use.
Yes. Okay. So the kidney will do a job that did not belong to him. So what happens? He gets tired. He says, sorry, I didn't want to help, but now I cannot do it any longer. So what do we have? Kidney failure. We have somebody going for dialysis. But supposing after you ate your food, you did some exercise, all the energy stored in the cells would have been used up, and the cells would have become hungry. Once the cells are hungry, they open 1,000 doors, and so all the sugar into the cells, and so your blood is left without much sugar in the blood.
So just to cut you short,
yes.
You say when you take this food, when the glucose is eventually released into the blood system, then it has to be consumed by the cell, because the cell is the one that consumes the cell. But now that you're not active, you find that the cell will not be able, the insulin will not be able to open, and therefore the cell is not going to eat. Now my question is that the only reason that a lot of sugar may circulate within the system? Is it only if we don't become active, or there is another problem that can make us have diabetes?
It's not only the sugars. Remember, all carbohydrates are converted to glucose.
Yeah.
All proteins are converted into amino acids. And all fats are converted into fatty acids. And all these cannot get into the cells without the insulin being there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, for the insulin to be perfect in the body, the beta cells in the pancreas must be worked on.
Yeah.
What builds the cells in the pancreas? The grains. The walls of the cells in the pancreas are worked upon by the grains. So if you eat mainly food without grains, then the beta cells are weak.
So in short, we are talking about eating refined food.
Yes.
So when we eat refined food, there's something that is going to lack.
Yes.
That helps the cell now. There's a cell in its effort to allow glucose in.
Yes. So actually I was going to come to that.
Yes.
So the type of food that we eat. So I said the cells in the pancreas, the beta cells,
yes,
are built up by the grains. So if you eat refined food, processed foods, foods with no fiber, those cells, actually what we need to work on is building the cells, the beta cells in the pancreas, so that these cells can be able to produce enough insulin. Okay?
Yeah.
Another issue is this. When we eat late meals in the evening,
yes,
late meals in the evening, you know, this body does not require food in the evening.
When you go to sleep, because you're going to relax.
We are going to sleep. It doesn't require any energy. So when we eat heavy meals and we eat late in the evening, all that food is converted into fat.
Yes.
Once it gets into the body, because the body does not require it, it's put somewhere in the store. It is stored as fat.
Yes.
And the diabetes again is caused by too much cholesterol in the body, which is motivated by the way we eat, the type of foods that we eat. When our body has a lot of cholesterol, too much weight, because that stored fat, that stored energy is the one that continues increasing our weight.
Yes.
And that increase in weight is also another cause of diabetes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, you say one of the things is if we are not active, I've got one point very, very, very important. If you're not active, the cells are not going to receive the energy.
Yes.
And this energy is going to accumulate in the blood, and then the kidney will get rid of these.
Yeah.
Then you also said if you're eating too much food when you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
And of course, this is what many people will do.
Yeah.
Many people have a habit of taking very little in the morning and taking something also not too much at around lunchtime or lunch hour, and then in the evening they take a lot of food. Are you telling us this is a bad system?
I'm not saying it's a bad system, but let's hear what the Creator says about it. The manufacturer's manual, let's hear what he says about it. Ezekiel 4.
Ezekiel 4.
Yeah. Ezekiel 4. Ezekiel 4, verse 9.
Yeah.
Let's hear what the manufacturers say about it. It says, also take for yourself wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. Put them in a vessel. Make bread out of them for yourself. That is food. During the number of days that you lie on your side, 390 days you shall eat it. That's a whole year. And your food which you eat shall be by weight, 20 shekels a day. From time to time you shall eat it. Okay? So, specifically, I talked about the grains. God has given us beans, lentils, millet, the spelt, that is oat, wheat.
Yes.
You see, they are all grains. Actually, this is the best food to make the best fuel for running this machine. Okay? And he says that the food must be eaten from time to time. So actually, what do we say? We say in the morning, you eat like a king. Lunchtime, you eat like a queen. In the evening, you eat like a pauper. But what do we do these days? In the morning, we eat like a pauper. In the evening, we eat like a king. So in the morning when you are going to work, that is when your body is ready for food. So what do you take? Just a cup of tea, and you are off to work. In the evening when you are going to sleep, that's when you have a big mountain of ugali, and you are going to sleep. So we're actually doing the opposite. Okay? And so that is where the problem is coming from.
Oh, I really understand that this is a habit maybe formed. Okay, one thing I still want to go back to that question of the ingredient that God has given us there. And today's it might be argued that we are taking the same thing, but the technology maybe has come to make the work of our digestion a bit easier. And that is why people are going for refined food, because it is easy, but it's the same grain. What would you tell us has happened? Because now, when we talk about refined food, we are still talking about the same grain that you talked, but they have gone through some kind of a process. Is this process detrimental? Or are we doing something wrong by taking our nutrients through a system that making them refined? What really happened when we refine this food that is not so good?
Okay, and because we are talking about God's perspective, I'll go back to the book of Isaiah. Isaiah 55.
It's like every answer is there in there.
Yeah, everything. This is our manual.
Yeah?
Yeah. Isaiah 55. Isaiah 55 and verse 2. It says, why do you spend money for what is not bread?
Yes.
Meaning what is not food.
Yes.
And your wages for what does not satisfy.
Yeah.
Listen carefully to me and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in abundance. God says, listen carefully to me. Eat what is good. What is good is the natural food in its natural state. Why spend money for what is not food? Imagine, Pastor, you buy one packet of maize for planting, 500 shillings.
Yeah.
One bag of fertilizer, 3,000 shillings. You employ people to dig your farm. You employ people to plant. You employ people to weed. You employ people to harvest. You employ somebody to come and shell the maize. Once it has come to the store, you put it in a bag, carry it to a mill, and there you grind refined food. I mean, flour.
Yeah.
the thing that should have helped you in that maize, you leave it behind there. You carry home polished flour. Something that even the rat in your house cannot eat. Refined food. That white ugali, your rat in your house cannot feed on it. If you feed on that inside thing in the maize, the rat is very, very careful. Even if you put white refined rice, your rat will not eat that. And to you, that is what you are saying, you are calling food. So this technology has actually come to make us more sick, okay, to destroy our health, which is contrary to what God wanted our health to be, okay? So as much as technology is there, we need to adhere to God's principles. Yes.
Yes, as we wind up, because we've really talked about the subject at large, I would like you to look at that camera and tell the viewer, you look at that camera and tell the viewer exactly what you think is the most important thing we should do to avoid this menace.
Okay, for us to avoid this menace, particularly in diabetes, we need to eat food with lots of fiber, and we need to include live food in our diets. For example, raw foods in our diet. Life comes from life. Jesus gave his own life for us to get life. And so the live food, the raw vegetables, tomatoes, carrots, cucumbers, lettuce. If you are diabetic, every meal must have those raw food. What do in our body? They act like bumps on the road. Just like a car running on the road, we find a bump and slow down. When we have this diet, raw food in our diet, as the sugars get into the bloodstream, the raw food is the one that slows the sugars down, and so the sugar gets in most, and you will not have any problem with sugar. The second one is exercise. Every time after meal, take a few minutes to exercise.
Yeah, I just want to cut you because the time is not really on our side. So important. We've learned so much from you, and definitely we've come to the end of the program. It does not mean that we are not going to get you back. We still call you again so that we may continue with this subject, because as we say, and as I told you viewer, in Pillar, we really value your health. Until we meet again, it is goodbye, and let us meet again. God bless you so much.